What's up, everybody? It's your girl Kanan. I am back with Raising Kanan, season 4, episode 3, Bygones. So the episode starts with Neek. He's walking up on Richard and Sonny, the owners of the Korean store. He robbed them at gunpoint, takes rock supply and money. He unalives them, and then he leaves. In the next scene, we see Juke and Mari sitting at the table talking, and he was like, he knows that Juke went AWOL. They're waiting for the army people to show up. He was like, well, what you want me to tell them? She was like, I'ma handle it. And so Marvin insists that she go back to school. You're smart, just go back to school. And then eventually she gets a knock on the door and the army people show up. But there is a big transition between Juke and Marvin's relationship versus what was happening in the first and second season. He knows who she is. He's accepted her. He loves her. He's kind. Marvin is a lot kind-hearted, and especially now since he's been in anger management. So Kanan brings his grandmother the meds, asks if the meds are working. She said, it's doing what it's due. You know better than I know. It's not really working, but it is what it is. So Kanan tells his grandmother, everybody needs to know about your situation. She said if they want to know, they will come by to see her. And it's like, no, the responsibility don't really fall on them. You're sick. You need to tell them. Whether they like it or not, you still need to tell them. So the army people come to the door, she lets them, Juke lets them in. They let them know that, AWOL is a crime. She tells them, grant her entry level separation, and they was like, well, entry level separation goes to such and such and such. And so she tells them, hey, I'm gay. And so it was just a back and forward. And so one of the sergeants tell Juke, you're letting your country down. And Juke was like, my country has always let me down. So Marvin was like, facts. Like, Marvin is backing her up because he really didn't want her to be there. And so they grant her the entry level separation rather than allow her to be, what do they call it? It's dishonorable discharge or something. Anyway, so Luke comes home and he wakes up B-Rilla because B-Rilla was supposed to be staying with a family member, but if that family member had a woman and her kids come in, so it wasn't enough space for him. So he tells, Luke was like, I didn't plan on you staying here. So B-Rilla was like, well, I can't because the money at the label company is BS. They're not paying me thus and such and thus for. I can't find me anywhere to stay. So Luke was like, okay, we'll have a conversation with the label, with Lowell down at the label. So in the next scene, Ju is in her closet. She pulls out the shirt from the group. She throws it away. She just throwing stuff away, just trying to figure herself out. In the next scene, Marvin pulls up at the Chinese place and he found the tape around it. So the cop came up to him. He was like, can I help you? Marvin was like, well, I just came to pull up. I came to get my usual order number 37. And so he was like, no, unfortunately, he tells Marvin what happened. Then we go into the next scene where he's telling Rock what happened, that they were unalive and it must have happened overnight. So of course Rock is like, we need to find out who did this. So Marvin automatically thinks that it's Richard and Sonny's nephew, the one who stole the product, stole a couple of little products. And so Rock was like, I don't need you to be wrong on this. I need you to make sure that was the person who did it. I really think Rock don't know that he did not do it, which is why she told Marvin that. So Rock talks to Marvin about, that the DA tells her that, Marvin's been seen with Stefano, and Marvin was like, that's a lie. And so Rock is like, they are, basically the police is thorough and they're not out here lying on you like that. Are you meeting with him? So Marvin lies and say, he's not meeting with him. He walked away, and y'all know he had that look on his face. But y'all know when Rock find out, she gonna be pissed off, okay? So, what's her name? Crystal, Keisha, whatever, Kanan girlfriend, goes into the building. Unique comes out, bumps into her, and she was like, "Excuse me, would be nice." And he turned around and looked at her, and she hurried up and ran into the building. So Rock meets with Irwin. Irwin is related to the couple that owned the Chinese restaurant. She apologizes to him, and he was like, he tried to get out of the business with her, and she was like, are you married? And he was like, yes. And she was like, just like you're married, you and I are married, so there is no leaving. She was like, you know too much. So anyway, Crystal, I think that's her name, Crystal and Kanan. She tells Kanan, we need a new apartment. This one is dangerous. I ran into a guy with a scar on his head. She didn't know that was Neek. But, she was like, it's scary and you can't live here and sell product here. That is dangerous. So he tells her, can you just go back home? And apparently her mom's boyfriend is over there molesting her. And I was like, oh yeah, no, she can't go home. So in the next scene, Lou and B. Real go to Lowell and ask for an advance. And that was a whole back and forward. So in the next scene, Rock calls Andre, but she doesn't know that Andre is unalive. Andre is the attorney. And she looks down, she sees a letter from Kanan's school and finds out he has a bunch of unexcused absences and he is no longer in school anymore. So Juke is at the community college signing up for college courses. Marvin goes to Richard and Sonny's nephew, confronting him about did he unalive his auntie and his uncle, and he was like, no. And then he asked Marvin, did you find their daughter? And he didn't know that they had a daughter. So he was like, no, I didn't know any of that. And so in the next scene, and so Marvin believes him. We really know he didn't do that. So Rock goes to Kanan's house. She asks, the little girl answered the door and she was like, is Kanan here? And she was just like, no. Like, she just got an attitude. Like, you don't even know this lady like that for you to just kind of stand up here and have an attitude with her based on what your little funky boyfriend done told you. Okay? All right. So, that was that on that scene. So, Juke, what I put? Oh, Juke. I'm sorry, y'all. Juke and Kanan talk. She tells him about the AWOL situation. She tells him about, the leave. She asks him where is Famous. He tells Juke he's probably, he snitched on people and he was like, I really don't know. Like, he was like, he was snitching on people and he was doing stuff he probably wasn't supposed to be doing. But Juke believes that he's alive somewhere in California with his sister. So he tells Juke, I hear you going back to school. And she was like, yeah. Juke tells Kanan she's not going back to school for music, but just some little odds and ends. And it's probably where we find out this is what shapes her to become a cop. Now, how she got to be a dirty cop, I don't know, but just her being a cop in general. So Marvin goes to Early and asks if he know anything about a young girl that was put in a foster system. And his auntie works for the foster system, gave him the number so he can find a little girl. Anyway, Lou is at his AA meeting. We found out he tried to unalive himself and he decided to see himself and he didn't recognize himself. He said he felt sorry for the person in the mirror. We see Lou is actually in a major space of clarity. And while he's talking, he's looking directly at Rock because, of course, he never shared this with Rock. So Lou forgave the person in the mirror as well as himself. And I felt like that was a good scene. I felt like now you can see Lou a whole lot better and a whole lot clearer, but not on that rah-rah stuff. Lou has always been level-headed, but then he started drinking. So Juke heads to the bar with the dudes who she used to sell that merch with, because y'all remember in season 1 she used to sell merch with them. They used to steal it and sell it. So they try to convince her to go back and she was like, nah, she ain't living that life no more. She just want to be on the straight and narrow. And so she was like, I'm gonna go to the restroom, and then she leave. So we go back to Lou and Rock. He thanks Rock. He tells Rock he owes her a lot. She tells him, you don't owe me anything. The one thing I need you to do is take care of yourself, and that's your payment to me. Because at first Rock wasn't trying to hear all of this. She just wanted Lou to do what she wanted Lou to do by any means necessary, which was very unfair. And we see Rock is becoming a different person. I really love Rock. Like, I do. I was like, Rock kind of crazy, but I like Rock. So Juke heads over to a lesbian bar and she hesitates to go in, and a woman comes up to her. She was like, it took me over a month to decide whether or not I wanted to go in, but then I just decided to go in. She was like, I could take you in there. It's not so bad, but just come on in. So Juke goes in, and this is, you can see where she's trying to be more comfortable and more relaxed because this is her first time here. So the lady she walked in with have two friends with her, and so they're just laughing and sharing drinks and talking or whatever, and it was just good. So in the next episode, Neek goes to give Early some money, and he was like, where you get this from? And he tells Unique, so you rob Rock. He was like, you playing with fire, and it's not gonna turn out good for you. So Neek was like, I'm trying to give you your money. Are you gonna take it or not? And so he took the money, of course. But when Early tells him you're playing with fire, he says, I am fire, and I'm gonna burn everything down. That was that on that. So Marvin goes to visit Amber. Y'all know Amber is what's his name daughter, the one who overdosed, his daughter. And she tells Marvin Marvin was like, how are you? She says she misses her dad and her sister. Marvin gives her his phone number and some money and say, anytime you need me, please call me. And then there's a lady come up and was like, hey, can I help you? And he was like, this is my goddaughter. They get up and they leave. Y'all, I know I'm going fast, but I'm about to watch Housewives of Atlanta. Anyway, Quan visits Rock and tells her to take care of the person who unalived his family. In the next scene, Rock goes to Hakeem, I guess that's his name, and asks if he know, I guess about Connect or re-up or what happened. I don't know. I didn't get that far. So Kanan and Crystal finally finds an apartment. Neek watches Pernessa from outside of her house. He takes the money that he stole from Rock, puts it in an envelope, and put it in her mailbox, and then he leaves. So everybody is at the grandma's house. Marvin knows something is up. Marvin and Juke was like, she looked frail. She don't look right. And so Rock is outside smoking a cigarette, talking to Kanan. And she was like, I heard about what happened in school. So he was like, I don't want to be in school. Of course, Kanan's still being an ass. And so he was like, I thought you was going to graduate. He was like, you wanted me to graduate. I ain't tell you that. You had me doing all of these things and you thought that I was going to graduate high school. That's crazy. He said, I'm really starting to think you crazy in real life. She said, I'm starting to think the same thing. So they, they both go into grandmother's house. So Neek hits up Kanan's spot, of course. So back at the dinner, everybody is awkward. They're passing around cornbread or whatever. Nobody's saying anything. And so she goes to give everybody advice. And everybody's really passive aggressive. Because, she wasn't the nicest mom, okay? So then she tells everybody she has cancer. She tells them that it is terminal. Rock gets mad. So you called us over here to tell us this. Why you want to relieve yourself of all the hurt and the pain you caused us. You slapping us around and telling us we ain't this and we ain't that. And she was like, no. She said, I'm not looking for forgiveness. I'm just trying to let y'all know that I'm dying, point blank, in a period. And that was it. Like, that lady didn't have nothing else. And I was here for it. Okay. So Kanan is looking at his grandmother. Rock was like, what is this? So you knew? And so everybody found out that Kanan already knew. So Rock was like, you know what? I'm leaving. And she gets mad. I'm like, well, why are you mad because she's sick? Are you mad because she's telling you? Are you mad because you didn't know? Because, I don't know. So I think in that moment when the camera went to Kanan, I think he started to see this is why Rock act the way she does. And this is where the episode ends. Y'all, I'm sorry. Please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Click the notification bell button so you can be updated on every video that I drop. Please make sure you're liking all the videos to stay in the algorithm of things. And I will see y'all in the next video. Peace.